Hi, I'm Mike.
And I'm Mike.
And I'm Kristina.
And this is NFGeeks. All right. Hey, you guys.
Hi.
Hello.
Thank you very much for coming on.
No problem.
You know,
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, this is going to be a very interesting episode because both of you are in human services for work, full-time work.
Mm-hmm.
And you come from very different personality types, ISTP and ENFP.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought this would be a great moment to sort of discuss what you do and what perspectives are you coming from, and kind of pull it all together. So first of all, if you could briefly talk, each of you, if you could talk about what you do and what's your role.
Sure.
So Mike, why don't you?
Sure, no problem.
Yeah.
Well, we both actually work for the same agency as well.
Okay.
So I'm a residential house manager. Essentially, I am responsible for the safety, happiness, and well-being of some individuals who have some developmental disabilities and that sort of thing. Taking them to doctor's appointments, making sure they have meaningful outings, that sort of thing. So I'm kind of on the front lines of the human services field. I do supervise some staff, and I also make sure I work direct care. So I again, it's about the guys that I work with, and making sure they live happy, fulfilled lives, that sort of thing. So basically that.
Mm-hmm.
And I am actually a step above that. I have a house manager and staff that work below me, and I work in an office, not in the houses. I'm a residential program coordinator for the group home agency. And the individuals that live in the home that I run have both physical and mental disabilities. So one of the things that is my primary responsibility, I like to call myself a firefighter because I'm constantly putting out fires, be it a staffing issue or a licensing issue or a human services or human rights issue. So a lot of it comes from, a lot of the things that I work on are policy components of the human services field in this particular type of setting and population.
In terms of the implementing of them?
Yeah, implementing policies, making sure that staff are following the policies, the license requirements, making sure that basically everything, all the machine is running smoothly, making sure all of the gears are right and everything is tight and the way it should be. So.
All right. It's interesting that you used a machine metaphor in light of what he does and what he says. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, it is.
They're all meant to be together. Yeah. All right. So, Mike, let's start with you.
Sure.
What do you think is the most important thing you have to do at your job? Like, what is the one thing you must do? Otherwise, it's disaster.
Well, I know what the most important thing to my supervisor is.
Yeah.
Which is her equal. It's
right.
She has the job that my supervisor has. And I know what the most important thing for me is, and I feel like the actual most important thing kind of lies right in the middle of the two.
Okay.
To me, direct care is the most important thing. I feel like I don't have. And she mentioned putting out fires. I feel I don't have to put out the types of fires she does. I deal with the individuals face to face, and I see their emotions, I see their reactions to things. And I think the most important thing for me is ensuring, again, like that they live, that their lives are as fulfilling to them as they possibly could be. I feel like I'm energetic, and I really, I guess this is sort of like a personality type thing with that kind of coincides with me, is that the here and now, let's do something right now, let's make it happen. Like, you want to do that? Let's go. I can make that happen. Let's do it right now. And I kind of, I don't put the administrative stuff, the paperwork stuff on the back burner. I get to it, but the primary thing is just kind of making sure my guys are doing what they want to do what they need to do to live as much of it with a sense of normalcy as they possibly can. So I would say that to me that's the most important. I think the actual most important thing lies sort of in between the policy stuff and the direct care stuff. It's kind of right in the middle.
Well, let's see.
Yeah, I don't. That's a good question.
Yeah.
So,
Chrissy, what's the most important thing? Like, you must do this or disaster.
Yeah, customer service.
Oh,
For
wow, really
me,
interesting.
it is customer
Wow.
service.
That's such an ENFP thing to say.
I have been in the management position that Mike's in, and I would agree with him that in that setting and in that role, definitely the most important thing is to kind of make sure and ensure that the guys are happy, safe, and just living the best life they can possibly live. In this particular setting, and now that I've kind of shifted to this supervisor role, it is customer service. So when I have a guardian or a family member or a DDS worker calling and they're upset or they need to know why this happened or what happened, it's really about the customer service. It's about finding out, the facts, finding out what's happened, what needs to happen, what I can do to ease any of their concerns or clarify any of the issues that they have. So it's about really staying calm and providing the best customer service possible.
Wow, that's fascinating. See, that it's funny how both answers are true to type.
Yeah.
So I love doing this. All right. Then let me ask the reverse. Then again, starting with you, Mike. What is disaster like? What is the biggest disaster? Like, oh my God, we've just hit the ground floor. We just slammed into the mountain.
Well, when anything goes off track, I'm not a super planner or anything like that, but I take it day by day. But when there's a, to me, if there's a medical emergency or some kind of an emergency that kind of knocks the train off the tracks, and I have to go into a different mode, and I have to do that sort of administrative stuff, and I have to make sure personally that's what really kind of gets me derailed. You know what I mean? So anything that kind of deviates from the plan is, and so that when I have to change modes, in it can happen very quickly. Where you'd have to change modes. I would say.
What would be for you the disaster hitting the plane, hitting the mountain?
For me, the disaster is a guardian, family member, or DDS worker finding out that a policy has been violated before I do.
Oh, boy.
So basically that there's a fire that I didn't know about before somebody else knows about it. So, if a staff has either, not followed the correct policy to administer medication or to bring somebody to a medical appointment or filled out the paperwork that is state mandated and legally required, and somebody finds out about it before I do, and I can do some sort of damage control or fix the situation, that tends to be the most emergent situation.
Wow.
When it arises, yeah.
Yeah, well, that sounds serious stuff. Mm-hmm. Yeah. What all right, let's talk about you guys talk about each other here for a minute. And because you know what each other do, and obviously you know each other personally, right? All right, so Mike, what is we'll start on the positive. Mike, what is you think is Kristina's most positive attribute or value that she brings to the human services job? Like, what is the thing that you would say is, wow, she really, this is her A game? She's
intelligent and focused. I would say, she takes work home to discuss it with me, because she needs to discuss it, and she enacts those things that we discuss. She sees the end. She sees anything to the end. She sees, that sort of thing. So she does a really good job with making sure that all her bases are covered as much to the best of her ability. Seeing things to the end, to me, is what I can see her doing very well.
All right, Kristina, what about him? What do you think is what's his A game in terms of his job, in terms of what he does?
I think that Mike is really excellent in taking feedback.
Really?
Yeah, I think I've working with his supervisor and kind of being on the outside sometimes and seeing the two of them interact. I know Mike on a very personal level, and so sometimes it's kind of funny to see this other person, giving certain feedback that, I would possibly give in another context or in a relationship type situation. And Mike, may be reacting in a way that is very professional and taking that feedback, processing it, and I know personally that maybe it might not be processing very well or he's not very happy about the feedback he's gotten, but he's really learned, I think, to and demonstrated that he's can take that feedback. He fixes a situation that needs to be fixed, and he goes forward, and there's no issue that arises that is similar to the last.
Your compliment was way better than mine.
I'm sorry. I had a moment to think about it.
All right, then we'll switch it up.
Okay.
So, yeah, we'll be fair. We want this. We don't want this relationship to bail. Hit the shitter. All right. Okay. And it's still gonna be positive. In a way. But all right. In what way do you see in Mike that is really different from your own way of being in human services? And it could possibly be negative, doesn't have to be, but what way is like, wow, I would never be like that, do that, see it that way?
I think a lot of this has changed as Mike and I have been in these roles and had a lot of time to kind of engage in supervision with one another. But I've noticed that, especially in the beginning of us being in this same company and kind of coming home with stories, Mike would sometimes come home and say, oh, this person challenged what I was doing, and I know what I was doing was right. And there was a little bit of a lack of customer service.
A bluntness, possibly?
Yeah, it was just, no, wait a second. I know that there was nothing wrong with what I was doing, and it wasn't, mindful of the fact, well, we are actually service representatives. We are actually providing a service to individuals and their families. So sometimes, am I right?
Yeah, you got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's something that we're different on, because I really am of the school that even if I entirely disagree with the customer, I provide a sense of customer service. We're going to figure this out. We're going to work on this. We're going to end up on the same page no matter what it takes. Even if, in the back of my head... Seeing things to the end game,
that's exactly right.
Right.
That's what I was saying. That's what I meant by that.
Yeah.
In the back of my head, I might not be saying exactly those words, but yeah, I think that's a little bit of a difference.
All right, Mike, what do you see is the biggest difference from you and what Kristina does?
The mirror, right back, the opposite of what she just said. I often, we balance each other out in that way, whereas she'll tell me to step off, put a foot on the brake, think about it before you do what you're thinking about, saying to this individual or whatever. Whereas I would say, step on the gas, speak up, you're smart, you know what's going on. Let's get it going here. And in reality, the fact that we do mirror each other with regards to that downplays me, and I feel like picks you up.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very beneficial to have that feedback and to kind of have an opposite take on it. Whereas it's literally the exact opposite of what she just said is exactly what I would. She needs to pick it up a little bit, speak up, say something, do. What you are doing is right, and you can show people that you can do that. And that would be my.
We play devil's advocate for each other all the time.
It's true, and it really helps.
It really does, and I think it impacts our practice on a regular basis. We might not agree with each other during the conversation or during the supervision time, but I think that it does impact us, and we bring it to work the next day. I know you're not supposed to bring work home with you.
Well, that actually, one of the things I want to talk about, this is going to be the controversial thing, is that, because you've said it, you guys are in two different levels within the agency. Mm-hmm. So if we do it military, Kristina, you're in the tent with the charts and the little tanks and moving around, and you're in the trench and there's grenades flying over your head, and you're fighting the fight, and you're sort of, does this cause, is that a cause for differences between you, in terms of what you're seeing?
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And it helps that she held the sort of position that I hold right now. Whereas I rely on her for advice and understanding of where she is, and so I can better work with my own supervisor. Whereas she you come to me once in a while for a manager's perspective, but not so much.
I think it's really valuable to have your perspective and to reconnect with that perspective, because it is very easy to lose touch with that. When you're in that tent and moving these little, pawns around, and you don't remember that, wait a second, there's actually something going on with, human beings and actual interaction that's happening.
Explosions.
Yeah,
Right.
grenades, bombs. So I do think that we offer each other that perspective, and we recognize that we are in two different sections of the company. We are in two different levels. So I think we recognize and kind of understand that there are things that I'll have to deal with in a certain way that he might not have to deal with in a certain way, and vice versa. But I do think that we offer each other we take it for what it's worth, and we use our own differing opinions as insight.
All right. Well, thank you very much, you guys. This was really great. So don't forget, you follow NFGeeks on Twitter and Tumblr, and come join the fun at the NFGeeks forum on Facebook. And remember, what's happening? It's happening. That's right. It's always happening. That's right.
Now it'll happen
Forever.
Ready? Hit stop. It's going to happen.